What's up everybody, my name is Noah, and today we're going to learn about an aspect in financial literacy that will help us making good financial decisions when we are older. Personally, I haven't done too much thinking about my financial future, but I do enjoy learning in the options that we will have. My current financial situation isn't looking too good, but you know what? It's okay because I have parents. Now, but besides the jokes, I currently do not have a job, so the only money rolling in is from Christmas and my birthday. And I'm not as cute as I used to be, so I wouldn't really consider those reliable sources of income. Saying this, however, I do plan to go to post-secondary, hopefully UBC, and this is obviously going to cost a lot of money. My family does have some RESPs for me and my sister, so if neither of us go to post-secondary, then yeah. As I currently don't have a job, I do plan to get one during the summer of grade 11. This mostly is just to help boost my resume to get into a good school, rather than to help pay for the school. I haven't done too much research into how much this is all going to cost, but I did do a project in Planning 10 class about how much it would cost approximately to become a dentist going through the system in UBC. Unfortunately, this project was in French, so I will only include some key screenshots from the presentation. Here would be the price of living on campus for the first year at UBC. It includes student fees, the cost of books, one shared room on campus, the internet, my telephone, computer and Wi-Fi, the university food plan, medical insurance, clothes, personal recreation expenses, tuition, a Compass card, and any extra food, because God knows that food plan isn't going to be enough for this growing boy. Tuition is always going to be a lot of money, but all your other expenses depend on how you want your lifestyle to be while you're at university. I don't want to confirm that I want to live on campus for my first year and make all of these decisions about meals and all that, but it's definitely a good possibility, and that's why I chose to share this information. So the total cost to become a dentist with a bachelor's degree is going to be give or take $249,000, which is a darn lot of money. Regardless to how it ends up getting paid, you must always try to make the smartest financial decisions at all times at any point in your life to keep your money and spend it wisely. That's why for this project, I have chosen to explore the difference between buying and leasing cars, because I feel that after post-secondary, a vehicle is a big financial decision that we have to pay close attention to our options to receive the best deal. Before I find this information, it's critical to understand what the difference is between a lease and a loan. So, you have different options of what you can do when buying something as expensive as a car. First of all, you can straight up pay for it with your savings, but that's kind of boring, we don't like that around here. The next two options are either getting a loan or a lease for the vehicle. Both of these are great options and both have their advantages and disadvantages, and it's key to understand the difference between the two to help make your financial decision. With a loan, once it's paid off, you own the vehicle. With a lease, you make monthly payments to cover depreciation, taxes, and interest. With a lease, once the terms of the lease is completed, there's a residual value remaining that is offered as a buyout to own the vehicle. The buyout of the residual value is not necessary, and if you wanted, you could just leave and go lease another vehicle. Having compared both of them, I feel like in the only situation you would want to lease a vehicle is if you're not going to end up paying the residual value and you're just some sort of car lover and want to bounce from car to car. Otherwise, the best way to go is always going to be by getting a loan. After lots of time looking, I found that a brand new car that looked pretty interesting was the 2020 Mazda CX-3 GX. The reason I chose this car is because Mazda is a very well trusted company that has a very good reputation at making good cars. My family also very much likes Mazdas, as my mom has had her Mazda 3 since 2004, and my aunts and uncles also have Mazdas as well. Not to mention the fact that the car looks pretty darn decent and has a good price for a car made in 2020. There are also tons of key features that this car has that makes it pretty darn cool. G vectoring control, smart city brake sport, advanced blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, rear view camera, 7-inch color touchscreen display with Mazda Connect, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, HMI commander switch, cruise control, Bluetooth, push start button, keyless entry, electronic parking brake, turn signal on door mirrors, manually adjustable driver's seat, 60/40 split folding rear seat, and power door locks and windows, just to name a few. Do I know what half of those things are? Absolutely not. Do I care? No, because they sound pretty cool anyways. But after doing all this research about a car, it ended up leading to nothing. I couldn't use this car because after contacting Mazda to get a quote, they said they couldn't give me one until January the 3rd, which was a big problem considering this project was due January 4th. Thanks, Mazda. You couldn't have told me that after the 5th time I called you guys. But this made me realize that this is actually a stupid idea, and that getting a new car, straight from a dealership is a terrible idea. As a student coming out of schooling, you don't want to buy a brand new vehicle. Getting a used one is always going to be so much more reasonably priced and a much better deal than anything a dealership can offer you. So with this in mind, I set off on a quest to find a used yet similar vehicle to this one. And what do you know? I found the identical one, but from 2019 instead of 2020. Sounds perfect to me. This car I found on Richmond Auto Mall, and after I inquired about this vehicle, an offer was set with an annual rate of 4.9% with payments of $136 bi-weekly for a period of 84 months. And after we punch this into a TVM calculator, it looks something like this. Now let's explain these aspects of the TVM calculator. So first off, I put $20,986 as our present value because this is as much money as we're going to need to start off with to pay for this car. Next up, I inserted negative $136. This is because we're making individual payments of $136, and it's a negative number because it's coming out of our pocket. Then I put in the 4.9% annually. Next up gets a little bit confusing. It's 182 bi-weekly periods that we have to pay. The reason I got this number is because there's 52 weeks in a year, and when you divide that by 2, you have 26 bi-weekly periods in a year. Then, when we have this amount, we have 84 months, and 84 months is equivalent to 7 years. You multiply the 7 years by the 26 bi-weekly periods, and you get 182 bi-weekly periods to pay all of it off. This step here can easily be messed up because it's a very common error to think that there are 2 bi-weekly periods in a month, which would be 24 bi-weekly periods in a year. This is false because not each month is exactly 4 weeks, and so we need to say there are 52 weeks in a year to get our calculation, instead of what people think is 2 bi-weekly periods times the 12 months, which gives them 24 bi-weekly periods in a year. Next up on the TVM calculator is how often it compounds. I'm going to assume that it's in months because this information was not given to me, but it affects the total payment very, very little. They also stated that the time period is going to be 84 months, so that's also why I'm assuming the compounding is going to be in months. Our calculations won't actually be exact because I use the fact that there are 52 weeks in a year when really there are 52.14 weeks in a year. So therefore the amount of periods I'm going to get is going to be slightly off. This is okay because the rest of our information is correct, so when we hit the button on that TVM calculator, it changes to 182.06. We were off by 0.6. This 182.06 is going to be the correct amount of periods, but if we want to know the total value we're paying, we take the 182.06 periods and multiply it by the payments, which is $136, and we get $24,760.16. We know this information is correct because when I simply go back to Richmond Auto Mall, it says the total cost is $24,752. So we're really getting $8 less off the car than we anticipated. That's a W in my books. The reason it's $8 less is because apparently Richmond Auto Mall doesn't consider 0.6 of a payment to count as a full one. So really, it's just saying it's 182 payments instead of 182.06 payments. So we get $8 off. We'll take it. To summarize option 1 from Richmond Auto Mall, A car worth $20,986 is going to end up costing $24,752 with bi-weekly payments of $136. Now, let's move on to option number 2. For option number 2, I had to contact RBC to see what they would offer me as a loan. It obviously wasn't official because I wasn't actually going to buy the car with a loan, but the lady I was on the phone with informed me that if I were to receive a loan after my schooling, it would have an annual interest rate between 5 and 6%, which is pretty high because I'm a student with little to no credit score or history, so it makes sense why this percentage is pretty high. Because the RBC employee said it was between 5 and 6%, I'm going to use 5.5% because it's in between the two numbers. The RBC employee then proceeded to tell me that the loan repayment period would have to be between 5 and 7 years because of the age of the vehicle. Apparently, at RBC, with used cars, they have a chart stating how long the repayment period must be in relation to the age of the vehicle, and in my case, I had to choose between 5 and 7 years to fully repay the loan. I ended up choosing 5 just to give a little variety from option 1. I was then faced with the choice of how often I wanted to pay. It could be anything between weekly and monthly, and to spice it up as well, I decided to go with weekly just to make it different than option 1. After punching these numbers into RBC's convenient loan calculator, they said I would have to pay $92.36 weekly for 5 years. After doing some simple math of adding the total interest cost to the original value, we can see that in total, I would have to pay $24,002.26. Putting this information in the TVM calculator would look like this. I'm not going to go into depth about where to put all this information like option 1, but when we have all of this information in here and click on the amount of periods, it's going to tell us that it's going to be 259.63 periods. Which means that the total cost is going to be $23,979.42, which is $20 less than RBC tells us it's going to be, so basically they're going to make us pay for the full last period. Now that we have all the information for both these options, it's time to summarize. So when we look at option 1 from Richmond Auto Mall, the big thing to note is that we pay bi-weekly periods of $136, and it takes 7 years to completely pay off for this car. This is not too bad, and this is definitely something pretty affordable. The downside to this option is that 7 years is quite a lot of time to pay off the vehicle. The opposite goes for option number 2. It's more money bi-weekly because every week we pay $92.36, which is $184.72 every 2 weeks to compare to option 1. This means by taking option number 2, we are paying an extra $48.72 every 2 weeks. That's a decent difference, which makes option 1 seem better. The plus side to option 2 is we own the vehicle after only 5 years instead of 7. This is a big bonus because the payments will stop sooner. Then we also have to think about the total cost. The cost for choosing RBC is less than option 1, but not by too much, so this does not really have a factor for me. I would personally be choosing option number 1 because paying a little less every 2 weeks seems more beneficial for someone coming out of schooling that is going to have a rough time scraping together money after paying off everything else they need to. So this is why I would choose option 1, because it feels like the better decision to me in the long run, even though I'm paying a little extra money in total. Yay! Option 1 wins! The reason I did not want to include leasing as an option was because I'm not a car fanatic, and I'm 100% sure I want to own a car and not lease it, and the best decision to do so is going to be from a loan. It was also very difficult to try to find a lease because dealerships just don't take grade 11 students seriously about inquiries on cars. I hope you guys enjoyed my project, and I'll see you again next time. Peace.